Welcome back, everybody, to Niners Now. I'm your host, Brady Grustas, at Grustas Brady on X. You can follow me there. And today, we are celebrating Christian McCaffrey after he won the NFC Offensive Player of the Week award for Week 7. And of course, stick around until later in the show because we'll be talking some Hall of Fame news and a potential player that the 49ers could add at the trade deadline. But before we begin, go ahead and subscribe. It really does mean a lot that you guys are watching my videos each and every day and subscribing. I really appreciate the support. If you haven't subscribed, subscribing would do a lot of good for the channel and for me personally. So go ahead and check if you are subscribed. If you are not, please subscribe down below. Leave a like, leave a comment, and let's get into it. So as I just mentioned, Christian McCaffrey is the NFC Offensive Player of the Week for Week 7, and this is no surprise at all, to me at least. 200 total yards, 2 touchdowns, his best game on the ground. He had really good blocking all night long, and with that blocking, Christian looked like his prime self. He was so explosive. He was unguardable in the passing game. He finally had some room on the ground. It was just amazing to watch. I was really happy to see that. Now, it's going to be tough to have that same sort of success against a much better Houston Texans defense in Week 8, but I trust Kyle, and I think he'll be able to get a really good game plan going. Now, on to these Hall of Fame chances. The NFL announced that there are 52 players moving on to the next stage of Hall of Fame voting, and among those players are former 49ers Frank Gore and Anquan Boldin. Both of those guys are awesome. I think Gore absolutely deserves to be a Hall of Famer. Boldin, I think, is probably closer to Hall of Very Good, but he had a couple of great years with the 49ers, had a great stint with the Ravens, and was fantastic with the Cardinals early on in his career. But this news kind of got me thinking, which current 49ers have a real shot at the Hall of Fame? Well, I kind of narrowed it down to 5, right? First, I think Trent Williams is nearly a lock. He is the best offensive lineman of this generation. He has been dominant. He has the longevity. He's just been unreal. Obviously, he had, that medical concern when he was with Washington earlier on in his career. But since he moved over to San Francisco, since the Niners traded for him, he's been the best offensive lineman in the NFL in that time span. And it hasn't really been all that close. So I would put Trent Williams as nearly a lock. I think he is almost guaranteed to get in when he does retire. And it's been a joy to watch Trent on this football team. Next up, I think I'm going to talk about Fred Warner here. I think Fred's got a really good chance of getting in because he has been by far the top linebacker in the NFL for this entire decade. It will not surprise me at all when Fred Warner gets the nod for, 2020's all-decade linebacker, right? I think he is guaranteed to get that spot. He's been at an unreal level, really playing at a defensive player of the year level since, early on in his career, since about 2020, 2021, right? And it's a shame that linebackers don't really get that award anymore because if they did, Fred Warner might have won it more than once, if we're being real with ourselves here. Nick Bosa, I think, has a really good chance as well. He's got a couple of high sack seasons, but he has also had a couple of injured, seasons ruined by injury. He's had the 2 ACL tears. So, it's a bit more of a question mark, I think, than with Fred Warner. Fred, obviously, absolute Iron Man up until this season. Bosa, though, does have that Defensive Player of the Year award, and he's a Defensive Rookie of the Year winner. So I do think that Bosa has a pretty good shot to end up in the Hall of Fame. He's also got, I think, the most playoff sacks in the history of the San Francisco 49ers, which is pretty crazy if you really think about it. Next, I want to talk about Christian McCaffrey. This one's tough. I think he's on the edge. He might be Hall of Very Good, right? He might not be Hall of Fame. And the reason, it's just the injuries, right? It's just the injuries. He's had so many seasons that have been completely lost to injury, last year being one of those, right? But when he is on the field, he's the best running back in the NFL. I'll say it. Some people won't admit it, but he is. It's the truth. This year, he's on pace for another 1,000 season. And if you aren't familiar with what exactly that is, Christian McCaffrey is one of only 3 players in the NFL, in the history of the NFL rather, to rush for 1,000 yards and have 1,000 yards receiving in the same season. Roger Craig obviously was the first player to do it for the 49ers way back in the 80s. Marshall Faulk did it, and then Christian McCaffrey did it when he was a Carolina Panther. And he's on pace to do it again this year, man. He's on pace. And if he becomes the first player to ever do it twice, I don't know how you leave him out of the Hall of Fame. Side note, how did they leave Roger Craig out of the Hall of Fame? Having 1,000 yards receiving as a running back in the 1980s when throwing for 4,000 yards was an achievement? That is extremely impressive. It was not a passing league back then, so for a running back to have that kind of receiving production is absolutely bonkers. Get Roger Craig in the Hall of Fame. Obviously, Marshall Faulk is also a Hall of Famer. He very much deserves it. Excellent player. And I think Christian McCaffrey is in that tier, man. I mean, you watch him play. He is unbelievable. Unbelievable. One of the best players I've ever seen, especially at the running back position. So I want to see Christian McCaffrey in the Hall of Fame. And then one more guy I want to talk about. It's George Kittle. George Kittle, I would say he's on the edge. I don't think he is quite in the Hall of Fame conversation yet. Kittle has been dominant in his career, through the air as a pass catcher and as a run blocker. He's been the best blocking tight end in the league for pretty much his entire career, right? He also, for a brief time, held the tight end single season yards record for quite a bit. If you remember that 2018 season, it was down to the wire between him and Travis Kelce. Kelce broke the record, and then I think a couple hours later, Kittle broke Kelce's record to take the all-time tight ends yard record. And then in 2020, Kelce had another incredible season, took that back for him. And I think that's a bit of an issue for Kittle. It's just, he's not the best tight end of his generation just because he's, unlucky enough to play at the same time as Travis Kelce, right? Otherwise, I think it'd be a no-brainer that Kittle is the number one guy. And he just doesn't have the longevity yet. He doesn't have the total career stats to compare with other notable legendary tight ends, right? I mean, if you look at his career stats, Kittle still has less yards and less touchdowns in his career than Vernon Davis, right? So he has to get those career stats up if he's going to have a real shot at the Hall of Fame. Because as of right now, it looks like he is just, he's had a really great career, but it's been, that not that long of a career just yet. So that's the end of that segment. Let's move on to a potential new 49ers trade target. I want to talk about Arnold Ebiketie. So we just saw Ebiketie on Sunday night as a member of the Falcons. He was a former second-round pick from the Falcons out of Penn State. And Ebiketie, he hasn't been great this year. He's had 3 pressures, 0 sacks. But throughout his career, he's been a pretty average player. I think the reason that he's having more of a down year this year is because of all the additions that the Falcons have made at the edge rush position. They brought in Leonard Floyd. They brought in Jalen Walker. They brought in James Pierce Jr. So Ebiketie's snaps have gone down. I mean, you see Zach Harrison playing a lot on the edge. He had a great game against the 49ers. So with all these additions, could Ebiketie be on the way out? Is he a guy that the Falcons might look to trade? Well, we don't know, right? He'd be pretty cheap. I think he wouldn't command very much. I think it'd probably be a 5th or a 6th round pick, maybe a swap of those 2 rounds. And I wasn't really expecting Ebiketie to be on the trade market, but on Wednesday he did tweet AK news coming soon, and AK, of course, meaning Arnold Ebiketie. That's what he calls himself. So I wonder if the Falcons would consider trading for him. There's been some buzz about him as a potential trade candidate. I didn't particularly buy into it, but with this tweet from Ebiketie, and with the Falcons sitting at 500, and with all these other edge rushers playing well for Atlanta, I wonder if now maybe is the time for Atlanta to move on, try and get something for Ebiketie, because he is a free agent at the end of this year. So I wonder if the 49ers would send a late round pick to just kind of add a body to that room. A guy who has been a pretty serviceable pass rusher over the course of his career. He's been, not great this year, but maybe joining up with Saleh, playing a little more of a defined role as opposed to that sort of hybrid Raheem Morris defense. With Saleh, he'd have one focus, and that's go get the passer, right? So maybe Arnold Ebiketie is a target for the 49ers. Do you think the 49ers should trade for Arnold Ebiketie? Let me know down below in the comments. And now, speaking of the comments, I want to get into our newest segment here on Niners Now. It's the comments section, right? I want to respond to a couple of comments from you guys. I'll take a look at a couple of comments from the last week or so, last couple of videos, and I want to chat about your thoughts, right? Because you guys have been watching the videos, you've been liking the videos, you've been commenting on the videos, and I want to show you guys some love. I've been reading those comments myself, but now I want to show you a little love on the show because I really appreciate you guys. I really appreciate all the support that you guys have been giving. So from Monday's video, here's a comment from Leo. Talk about how you picked the Falcons to win. Yeah, got me. I did pick the Falcons to win. I didn't think the 49ers would be able to overcome the loss of Fred Warner, man. I'm sorry. Fred Warner's a borderline Hall of Fame player. We just talked about that. He's not an easy guy to replace. And I really wasn't sure about how Tatum Bethune would do against a guy like Bijan Robinson. But I'll own that, man. I was wrong. I was absolutely wrong to pick against the 49ers in this one. I should have trusted Saleh. I should have known he would have had an absolutely diabolical game plan dialed up for the Falcons. I should have known. That's on me. You know, I've been picking against the 49ers kind of a lot this year, and it's not really something I'm doing intentionally. It's not like I'm being, a doomer or anything like that. I try not to be very negative about the 49ers on this channel. I mean, I'm sure you guys can tell. I try and be positive, and I try and keep it real. But yeah, I guess there have been a lot of challenges this season and a lot of challenges that I didn't think the 49ers would be able to overcome and a lot of walls I didn't think they'd be able to climb. But consistently, they've shown me that they have been able to overcome those hurdles. So, I mean, that's just another testament to the 49ers. And maybe I do have to give them a little more respect going forward. Stay tuned for the preview show tomorrow and see if I pick the 49ers against the Texans in this one. Also from that Monday video, this one's from B19 Moves. He says, or they say, I should say, PFF said that Sky Moore and Brendel were some of the highest grades on offense. Idiots. Yeah, this is regarding the Atlanta game. Grades have been really off this year with PFF. I've never been, all in on PFF. I like them. I like to use them sometimes. I don't like to lean on them, though, right? I think their grades, something about this year especially, there have been a lot of grades that I just do not agree with. I don't know if it's their grading process that I don't necessarily align with or whatever, but clearly there's something going on there. I don't know if they changed their grading process. I wonder if that's maybe part of it. But yeah, listen, PFF it's a very useful tool, right? They've got a lot of excellent stats. They've got great metrics. They track things that pretty much nobody else tracks. And all of that stuff is very useful. But the grades is what everybody talks about. And I get it, right? You want to have a way to rank players. Everybody wants to talk about how, oh, my player is better than your player. I get it. I get that urge. I have those conversations all the time. But those grades are subjective. Like, if you really think about it, that's just someone who works at PFF. They're just watching the tape saying, this play was good, this play was bad, this play was good, this play was bad, this play was really good, this play was really bad. And they combine all of those play-by-play scores into this number, into this grade. It is subjective, though. There is no way to officially, numerically quantify how well a player played. There just isn't, and there never will be. So you got to remember, these grades are subjective. They are not the end-all, be-all. But PFF as a whole is still a useful company, and they do useful things, and they have some really good stats. I always love their, they've got pressure numbers. That really is like, not a lot of places track pressures correctly, and I think PFF does. I trust their pressure numbers. So yeah, that's my PFF rant for you. This one's from Tuesday's video from John. I say let Sam O cook, and this is in response to potentially bringing in another edge rusher. I think that's very fair, right? We didn't really talk about Samo that much this week, but he was really impressive on Sunday. He showed speed to power. He showed pass rush moves, not just, trying to go through a guy, but actual moves. He showed off the bag a little bit. He had great energy. He was not just a cleanup guy. I know his sack was kind of a cleanup play, but he was actually good on Sunday. And he's had some bad games this year, but Sunday was absolutely not one of them. Samo had his best game as a 49er against the Falcons. And hopefully it wasn't a fluke. I mean, he was going up against the starting left tackle for most of the game, right? You can argue that, Bryce Huff was just beating up on a backup right tackle. That's not the case for Samo. He was really, really good. And I am excited to see what he can do against an even worse Houston Texans offensive line this week. Now, I've got one more comment here. This one's from Wednesday's video from B19 once again. With no Collins and no Kirk, the Texans will have nowhere to go. Saleh is too good. Well, we'll certainly see, right? I mean, Nico Collins not practicing today with a concussion, today being Wednesday while I record this video. Christian Kirk also not practicing on Wednesday with that hamstring injury. We'll see if either of them are able to go. But if the Texans are missing both of those guys, then yeah, I think you're probably right. I think the Texans offense will have a really, really hard time against this defense without, a guy as good as Nico Collins. I mean, they struggle when Nico Collins is on the field, much less off it. If you want more thoughts on the Houston Texans and their matchup against the Niners, stay tuned for the preview episode tomorrow on the channel. The Texans offense, it looked really bad against Seattle, man. The O-line, they're just terrible. CJ Stroud is having an awful season. I don't get it. I do not get it. I don't know what's going on there. They've had some offensive coordinator shuffling. But yeah, hopefully Saleh will be able to take advantage of that and really dominate in that Houston matchup. So that is all for this episode, folks. Let me know down below if you enjoyed. Leave a comment, leave a like, and let me know if there's any topics that you'd like to see me cover. Thank you all for watching, and subscribe for 49ers videos 5 days a week. It really means a lot to me. It means a lot to the channel. I really appreciate your support. And if you don't mind subscribing, that would make me feel great. I'm Brady Grustas, at Grustas Brady on X. This has been Niners Now, and I'll see you tomorrow.